Hello and welcome to May's Crochet. I am Rachel and it is time to wrap up the movies I watched in April and work on my movie blanket. Once again, it goes by too quickly. Anyway, if you need a refresh, let me show you what I'm doing. So this was the month of March. I am trying to watch 16 movies every month. At the end of the year, I will put these squares together in a 3x4 blanket and it'll be my 2025 movie blanket. So the yellow means I gave it a 1 out of 3, means I don't want to watch it again. The pink is a 2 out of 3, and it means I could watch it again or not. It doesn't matter. I enjoyed it, but not loved it. And then blue means I absolutely loved it and will definitely want to watch it again and probably maybe recommend it to other people depending on what it is. Now, if it's a purple with one of those colors in the middle, that's a rewatch and my feelings on that. So yes, I rewatched a yellow that I didn't necessarily want to, but it was Ghostbusters 2. Not going to get into it. Go watch last month's video if you care. But anyway, so basically all I do is make a square and try to keep it very brief talking about these movies. And I do make the rewatches off camera, unless I'm just watching a lot of rewatches, which I try not to do too many of those, but sometimes it happens. And yeah, then I have a nice cute blanket at the end of the year. All right, so for my first 4 movies, my first row for this month, I finally, after 11 years, caught up with Mr. John Wick and company.
But nobody is John Wick.
Okay, so first of all, no spoilers. Even though I'm doing all 4 movies, no spoilers. And I'm going to talk very generally about all of them. If you have common sense, obviously, you know, John Wick lives from one movie to the next, since there's 4 of them. But other than that, no spoilers. So I'm sure you know, because I am probably the last person on the planet to have actually watched these movies, but Keanu Reeves plays John Wick, who is a former assassin that got out of the life when he fell in love with a woman, but sadly she died from an illness, not from an assassin, revenge plot, accidental, any of that stuff. However, after she died, she made sure that John had a puppy to keep him company. So she had a puppy sent to him for him to get through this really difficult time. Well, friggin' Theon Greyjoy comes and kills the puppy because he wants John Wick's beautiful Mustang car. So anyway, John's pissed, of course, and he ends up back in that life to exact revenge, get his car back, get rid of Theon Greyjoy, doing us all a favor. So that's pretty much it. But of course, Theon Greyjoy is the son of a Russian mafia guy, and it's a little harder than it should be to take out Theon Greyjoy. So that's the movie. And I clearly really, really enjoyed it. The first one. The action's great. The humor is really spot on. I did enjoy the humor. It's not over the top. There's just some really great, small, funny moments. I like the rules that these assassins play, because of course he's not the only one. There's a whole underground of killers out there for hire, and they all seem to know each other. They know each other's business, and they have this code of conduct that they abide by. There's these hotels around the world called the Continentals, and absolutely no killing is supposed to happen there. It's really great, and it's fun. And even better, it is exactly 96 minutes long, which is perfect for a movie like this, in my opinion. So it has an absolutely fantastic cast, so many great names, and they're all having a good time. You can tell that this is a movie that they're really enjoying doing. I'm glad Keanu Reeves has a franchise to fall back on. I feel like he was such a heartthrob in the 90s, maybe early 2000s, and then he kind of made some choices, and I was hoping that his career wasn't floundering, but he's really picked it up with John Wick and other things in the last 11 years. So that's nice to know. The movie ends in a way that it could have been a standalone film, no problems, no questions asked, but I think it was big enough that they kept going, which it did set it up enough that it opened up this whole world of assassins. I mean, we get a small taste in this one, but it definitely led a way for more to be brought out. So that when the second one came along, it didn't feel like the storyline, the plot, the reason for John Wick to still be going was too far-fetched. It worked. And that's John Wick. Fun, sometimes even funny. Sets up a really cool world, but it could have been a standalone film. In short, you see how I'm harping on the length? Yeah, okay. So, John Wick 2, 3, and 4. Now, I enjoyed them. I really did. But going from an hour and 36 minutes to 2 hours and 6 minutes, gaining 30 minutes on the first one, over the first one, and then the next one was 2:10, and then the next one was almost 3 hours, at 2:46, over an hour longer than the first one. That's excessive. these movies don't need to be that long. They're still fun. It's just that they have gone over the top with the action at this point. And I don't know. It's hard. I kind of zone out sometimes. In fact, the third one, there's the gunfight that he gets in Casablanca with Halle Berry by his side, her character. I literally had to turn it off because it was just bang, 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 bang.
Bang, 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 bang. Shoot, shoot, shoot. Bullet, bullet, gun.
Every 0.2 seconds. I could not sit through that much longer, and it just kept going. Now, they are still fun, and they definitely expand upon this world even more. We see more of the Continentals. We find out about the High Table, which is kind of like their governing body, I guess. It's hard to really put that into words, but it definitely shows kind of like a hierarchy of what's going on. Then we even find out more about families, kind of John's backstory coming from Russia, and like the training house he's from. That's all very interesting. The lore is incredibly fascinating with these movies, but there's just not enough of it to balance all the constant gunfights, knife slices, and the punches. Those sound effects, just great and great and great. I mean, I'd still watch it again, but I'd probably like playing the music from Wicked in my head during the whole time. I don't know. So, it's definitely worth it to watch them all, for sure. And also, I've noticed that the humor falls off. There's still a little bit of humor in the second one, kind of on par with the first one, but it falls off, and there's hardly any in 3 and 4. So yeah, I enjoy them, but the first one is absolutely top-notch. That is John Wick. Good for Keanu, though. Getting this franchise, good for him. I'm happy for him. Time for some Disney animation. So I wanted to rewatch Alice in Wonderland, or so I thought, because both my girls are in dance. I've mentioned this many times, and every year at recital, the middle section of the recital, the second act, is the entire ballet. Like, all the ballet classes come together to have kind of like a running theme or do an actual story. They did Peter Pan last year, and they've done The Wizard of Oz. And this year it's Alice in Wonderland. My oldest is going to be the White Rabbit. My youngest is in one of the lower classes, so she's one of the background dancers. She's going to be one of the flowers, and then part of the caterpillar, I think. I'm still not really 100% sure on what's going on. Anyway, I decided that I needed to see the movie again, and because I couldn't remember the last time I'd watched it. So we watch it, and I'm like, I know all the highlights, like the Cheshire Cat, the caterpillar, Tweedledee and Tweedledum, the White Rabbit, the Red Queen, but there was a lot of other stuff in there I didn't know at all. I mean, I was very confused. And so I was like, I guess it's just been a really long time since I watched it. So I went to my Letterboxd app, and I did not have it down as ever watching it. Now, that's not to mean I didn't watch it when I was really little and have zero memory of it, but I simply don't recall seeing the whole animated version. Now, I have watched the Tim Burton live action version from, 2010 or something, and there's just so much in that story that is ingrained in pop culture these days. So I guess I'm just one of those people who thought they had seen it because they know so many pieces of it, but had never watched it as a whole. But I have now. And, I give it a 2 for what it has done for pop culture, for sure. It is really, really big, but overall, it's also really, really weird and definitely not one of my favorites. Maybe if I'd watched it more as a kid, it would be. Maybe if I'd read the book, it would be, but I'm still really confused about what I watched too the other day. So, yeah, that was a 2. And then I was like, what am I going to watch next? Well, it's early April, and next week, in the middle of the week, we are going to go to Disney World and Universal over Easter break. So I'm like, there's a lot of Disney animated films I've never seen, so why don't we just fill up this next block and maybe the one after with more Disney animated films that I am just lost on. So I've seen some of the bigger classics, of course, like all the Disney princess movies, which really there were only 3 up until Little Mermaid in 1988, which is crazy. Over 50 years, and there's only like 3 main ones, but that's not the point. And then, of course, like Lady and the Tramp, Bambi, Jungle Book, lots of the really popular ones, and some of the live action stuff too. But there's a lot that I have not seen, especially from the 70s to the 80s for sure. And I think a lot of that has to do with accessibility, because if you are old enough, you remember the Disney Vault, which was just such a scam, absolutely ridiculous. And now it's gone, and you can stream everything on Disney Plus whenever you want. Nothing's going away for, however many years and coming back out for a limited time for you to buy physical media. I can't believe the chokehold that had us all in for so many decades. But anyway, I'm sure that's probably why there's a lot of things I haven't seen, and maybe they just weren't as popular. I don't know. I don't really know the history of Disney animated films. I realized I haven't watched Robin Hood, which is basically the story of Robin Hood, just with talking animals. And I finally watched it. It's from 1971, I believe. Ooh, what happened to my voice there? Anyway, I just found it kind of boring. I'm sorry. I don't know. It was bizarre because you have Phil Harris doing John the Bear, or Little John, who's a bear, and he was the voice of Baloo in Jungle Book. There's also a snake that can hypnotize people, and there's also vultures that they come in at the end. And I'm just like, if I wanted to watch Jungle Book, I just watched Jungle Book. It's far more interesting. This one is just kind of boring, honestly. And I kind of grew up with the Kevin Costner Prince of Thieves version of Robin Hood, so nothing can touch that. Sorry, I'm a 90s kid. So yeah, I was very disappointed in Robin Hood, and it just really didn't hold my interest, and I didn't think it was all that good. So next I went for another animal themed movie, and I feel like I've heard the title of this one a lot, but had no clue what it was about. It seems to be beloved, but not like one of the really big ones, and that would be 1981's The Fox and the Hound.
I'm a fox. My name's Todd. What's your name, kid? Mine's Copper. I'm a hound dog.
So 5 minutes in, less than 5 minutes in, I believe, we already have a dead mother. Thank you, Disney. So there's a mama fox running from a hunter with her baby. She leaves the baby like at a little farm and then gets killed in the field. An owl swoops in and sees the baby and rescues him, more or less, gets him to the older lady who lives on the farm, who names him Todd because he's like a little toddler. I don't know, Todd was a very odd one for me, but so he's just a tiny little cub. And then the next door neighbor is a hunter, and he gets a new hunting dog named Cooper or Copper? Cooper, I think. And he already has an old hunting dog, but this one ain't gonna last forever. So he gets a new hunting dog who's a puppy. Eventually, Cooper and Todd become friends when they're little, but then Cooper has to go away with his person because they're going out for hunting season, and they're not gonna be back until the next spring. Well, next spring comes around, and the owl has warned Todd that Cooper is not gonna be his friend anymore. He's gonna have been trained up to hunt foxes, basically. And Todd's like, no, he's gonna remember me. We're still gonna be friends. It doesn't go well for poor Todd, and for poor Cooper, actually. But overall, it was a cute, sweet little movie. It's definitely geared more toward smaller children, other than the dead mother thing. I think the same thing about Bambi. It's not a bad movie. It's just, I find it geared more toward littles, and including a dead mother. And so I don't hold any ill will toward them. I could watch them if I, had to. They're cute, they're sweet, overall, about friendship and love and, all the stuff you want little kids to know about. But I definitely would not seek them out again in the future on my own. And that is The Fox and the Hound. For the kiddies, mostly cutesy, sweet, not a lot of humor. They try, but it's not great. And the story is a little disjointed, but like little kids ain't gonna care. It's just the adults who have to watch it with them. Anyway, that's number 3 for this block. And then lastly, one I'd heard a lot about. I don't think it's one of the bigger ones because it's so dark, but I've heard a lot of people who actually have seen it are like, it's weird and I love it, but it's not one of Disney's more beloved ones. And that would be 1985's The Black Cauldron.
Put Hen Wen down. I never use her powers unless I have to. But now I must. Powers?
So I'm gonna go ahead and let you know, I don't remember the character names. I'm sorry, and it's really late and I'd like to get this done, so I'm not gonna look them up and try to memorize them at this point. We're just gonna move forward with the story. The movie is based on a set of children's fantasy novels from the 60s, and it is very high fantasy. It takes place in this world, very medieval vibes, but there was once a very cruel, evil king, and this is like the prologue. They trapped him in a black cauldron because he was just too evil. We don't know how, we just know that's what happened. So then after that, the Black Cauldron becomes this thing that evil people want because then you can raise an army of the undead by using the Black Cauldron. Cool. This is really weird. Okay, I've spent the last several minutes trying to figure this story out the best way, but essentially there's a man on a farm who has powers of some sort, and he scries into a bowl and sees that the current evil Horned King is looking for the cauldron to raise the army. At the same time, the Horned King realizes that the Magic Man has a magic pig that is an oracle, and so the Horned King now wants the magic pig to try to help him find the cauldron. And that's only the first 5 minutes. Oh my god. Okay. So when the Magic Man realizes that the king wants the magic pig, the Magic Man asks his normal farmhand boy to take the magic pig off to keep him safe, her safe. something like that. And the boy just wants to be like a hero, and he's a normal boy, no magic powers. And so they do get captured. And then he meets a young girl who calls herself princess, but maybe she's not, who the king also captured because he thought she was magical and might help him find the Black Cauldron. There's other people he's kidnapped. So anyway, it's just them trying to get away, but also maybe trying to find the Black Cauldron to keep it from the Horned King. It's a lot, you guys. So I'm still giving it middle of the road. I do love the imagination of it. I think the fantasy element is very interesting. As you can tell, it is very hard to describe. It's not hard to watch. It's just hard to talk about. And so now I'm kind of seeing, I understand when I hear people discuss it or write about it, anything like that, I get why it's so, I don't know if divisive is the right word, but it's just not what I would even think of typical Disney. It does feel a lot older than 1985. And I don't know if it's because I'm kind of equating it to Sword in the Stone in my brain, which I believe was a 60s Disney movie, just because of like the fantasy medieval element. But it feels a lot older than 1985, and it doesn't feel, like I said, Disney. It feels almost like maybe like something like the English would have produced and had, and everybody in England would have loved it, and Americans may have found it through something. But it just does not feel very Disney to me at all. I can't describe it, but I'm very surprised by it. So the story is interesting. It kind of goes all over the place a little bit, but I did like it. The imagination's very good. Of course, I think a lot of that goes back to the source material, I'm sure. Never heard of, I didn't even realize these were books. I had no clue. But a very big weak point for me are the characters. They are kind of bland, and I can't remember their names. And I'm not even going to tell you when I watched it, because it would just be embarrassing at this point. It was earlier today, but that's not the point. I watched it. I promise I paid attention. You heard me talk about the Magic Pig. I cannot remember the names, and they're not like, it's not like, oh, John, and Beth, not to be a Beth, but anyway, it's not names like that. I don't know if they are based off of a country or a culture. They feel almost Welsh to me. I might be speaking completely out of turn though. So I don't know. I cannot remember. I think Hedwin was the pig, and that's all I got. So I still kind of enjoyed it. I like the story. I just wish the characters had been better developed. And maybe for such a short film, like 82 minutes or so, we're introduced to too many characters. That may have been a big problem too. It kind of feels derivative of other fantasy, but what doesn't at this point? The Black Cauldron. Interesting. Yeah, just interesting. I'll give it that. But yeah, if you like high fantasy, it might be for you. If I'm going for medieval fantasy, I would still take Sword in the Stone first, but that's when I watched as a kid, so it's a nostalgia factor at this point. If I'd watched this as a kid, I'd probably still be absolutely in love with it to this day. But that is not the case. So that's it for this block of Disney movies. The next block will definitely be within the last 25 years, starting around the year 2000. So, but that's for next time. It is bedtime right now. Well, we're back. And I did not record the other 4 Disney movies. I did watch them. In fact, I watched 3/4 of my movies for the month by the halfway point of the month. So I had 13 movies knocked out by April 15th when we left for our trip. But we are back from Disney and Universal Studios. It was absolutely fantastic. This is my new shoulder pal, Baby Groot. Also representative of my favorite ride at Disney, which was the Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind at Epcot. Unfortunately, it was the very first one I did there. So I'm not saying the rest of the trip was lacking. We had a great time. It's just like, my favorite ride was literally the very first thing I did at Disney. So we are now moving into the 2000s, and I watched The Emperor's New Groove. I had never seen it before. I was definitely out of my Disney phase by this point, because I would have been probably just finished my freshman year in college. So, I was out of my Disney phase by Lion King. After that, Hercules, Lilo and Stitch, Mulan, other things I had to catch up on later when my kids were younger. And this was one I never did with them, though they have watched it on their own through Disney Plus at this point. And now I have too.
Can you top me off, pal? Be a friend?
A llama? He's supposed to be dead!
Yeah, weird.
So I did enjoy this movie, but I have to admit it was not because of David Spade. I've literally never in my life watched anything because David Spade was attached to it. I had warring feelings on that, but I have to definitely say that Patrick Warburton and Eartha Kitt make this movie as the villain, kind of. I mean, really, Kuzco's an ass, right? So, I mean, yes, Yzma is officially the villain and Kronk's her henchman, but they're so much more entertaining than Kuzco and Pacha, the John Goodman, the villager. And that is the reason to watch it. That was The Emperor's New Groove. Silly, good fun, still very like 90s Disney, which is great because, you know, I grew up around that time. Anyway, moving on. So the next two I just went ahead and made because I'm trying to keep these videos shorter because I don't like editing very, 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 very long videos, and apparently people don't like watching a lot of very, 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 very long videos. Anyway, so next we come to Treasure Planet. I believe this was around circa 2003 or 4, I don't know. I basically thought this and the Atlantis, the Lost City Empire one from 2001, I don't know the dates. Anyway, I basically thought they were the same movie. I didn't know there was a difference. And when I realized there was a difference, I picked one. I didn't know which one was considered the better one. I don't know if either are considered better, but this movie was just really boring. I mean, it's basically Treasure Island by Robert Louis Stevenson, but not, obviously, because it's a planet with treasure in space pirates. This kid goes on an adventure to go find that because his mother's inn burns down. He's like, maybe I'll go find this money and help her rebuild, whatever. And he's like an inventor, blah, blah, blah. I didn't care what was going on 97% of the time. Not accurate data. But I think my biggest problem with it was that, so Jim, the main character, voiced by Joseph Gordon-Levitt, he was human and his mom was human, and voiced by Laurie Metcalf. All the other characters, though, were like humanoid animals. They were not dogs, not cats, not lobsters or anything. They were like crossovers. Like I don't even know. I don't know if this is supposed to be set in the future of Earth or if this is just like some story out in space. It's separated from everything else. It had a really fantastic outer space steampunk vibe to it. Otherwise, I just did not like it. So yeah, it gets a 1. I don't know. So my next one was Big Hero 6, I think from like 2016, maybe, I don't know. I'll put all of this in editing, but I'm not looking it up right now. So Hero is like a 13-year-old boy genius who likes to build robots and then just go fight them, whereas his older brother is like college aged and their parents are dead because Disney. And they live with their aunt in a town that's kind of like a hybrid of San Francisco and Tokyo. I can't remember the exact name for it right now. Anyway, doesn't matter. The brother goes to a like college dedicated to technology and building really cool stuff. He wants Hero to go there. In order for Hero to go there, he has to build something and wow everybody at this expo, which he does. But unfortunately, at the expo, there's a giant fire, and the head of the department, who his older brother looks up to very much, is stuck inside the building. His older brother rushes in to save him, and his older brother also dies. So that's fun. Hero is very sad and depressed, but his brother had this one last invention called Baymax, which is a robot that is actually kind of like a first aid robot. He's there to assess problems and help people and everything, and he's very sweet and kind. And Hero tries to turn him into a killing machine, kind of. Like, he wants revenge on his brother's death because he comes to learn that the fire was not an accident. And all of his brother's friends get in on it. Not the death part. Like, they're like, expose the person, go after him, but don't let revenge take over you. And they actually they use their own technology and everything, inventions, to become like superheroes. So it was cute. It was sweet. Unfortunately, it's only been like a week and a half since I watched it. I'm having a lot of trouble remembering some details. I mean, I remember the big plot twist, which I did not see coming. So maybe I'm an idiot, but I didn't see that one coming. And thank you, Disney, for a nice surprise. It's always lovely when that happens, right? I'd watch it again. And so for the final Disney movie is Raya and the Last Dragon from whenever. Like, again, I'll put it up on the screen.
We really need your help.
I'm gonna be real with you. I'm not like the best dragon.
So in a land where dragons and humans live together, the dragons help the humans exist, basically. They bring them prosperity, food, rain, anything they need. And unfortunately, a plague starts to wipe them all out. Not wipe them out, but turn them into stone, which, not good either. And there's like one dragon who harnesses a bunch of magic to end the plague, which it does, and it turns all the people who turn to stone back human, but it does not turn the dragons back to dragons. They're stone. And it's been like 500 years at this point, at the beginning of the story. And there is a dragon, there's like a stone that the dragon used, and so the land's broken up into like 5 different kingdoms, and the stone is kept in heart. So it's like different parts of a dragon, like tail, heart, scales, other things. I can't remember all of it. It's been a while. Raya lives in Heart with her father, and he is like the head of this particular area and kingdom, and they are the keeper of this dragon stone that other lands believe bring them more prosperity than everybody else, and so everybody kind of hates them, but he wants everybody to get together to try to come to like an agreement, something, just to get everybody to chill the F out, right? Well, that doesn't happen, of course. The Dragonstone is broken. It's smashed when one of the children that Raya befriends from another land, it's all just a ruse, and she tries to take it, ends up smashing into 5 different pieces. So now each kingdom has a piece of it, but because it's not whole anymore, the plague is once again loosed upon the land. Oh shit, right? And Raya's, if I said Raya, I'm sorry. I always think it's Raya, but it's Raya. So Raya's dad gets turned to stone, and she, 6 years later, decides to go around and try to collect all the pieces to put this dragonstone together. Well, meanwhile, this girl who was kind of a bitch, right? She had told Raya when they were visiting, when she was pretending to be her friend, that she believed that that last dragon was actually out there somewhere. Raya goes in search of her, and she finds her. And the dragon's kind of goofy. And together they go on a quest to bring all pieces of the Dragonstone back together to try to contain the plague once more. And they pick up some other people who've lost their loved ones to the plague. And that's what happens. It's not all of what happens, because I'm not going to spoil the whole thing. But that's what happens. Anyway, I really enjoyed it. Yeah, it was good. It was a good story. I don't know what else to say. It was beautiful. Absolutely stunning animation, I thought. And I thought it was a good story. It's not one that I think it's going to really stick with me, but I like the characters and animation and the story. I thought they were all really good. The voice acting was really good. It's just missing a little something. I bet if I'd watched this with the girls, like in the theater or at any point, I think I would like it a lot more. I think watching it with younger kids would have been kind of like the catalyst to really love it, like some other things. But I didn't. I watched it on my own. And with that, we wrap up my little Disney marathon thing, I guess. As of now, I am on track to have all 16 movies this month be new to me watches. I have not rewatched anything. I've got a couple more to go. I think I can do it. I just gotta figure out what it's gonna be. So we'll see if we get it with this next segment that is gonna start now. All right, let's finish it. 4 more to go. It is Monday afternoon. I really wish I'd had this done over the weekend, but with coming back from the trip and having a cold, not really in the mood to work on anything, but I'm getting it done right now. So sorry if it feels rushed. Not that sorry, though. So for the first 2 movies, we continued our Ghostbusters journey. We watched the first 2 from 85 and 89 last month. I skipped over the all-female version from 2016 because I am not sure that that happens within the same universe. I remember there being cameos from some of the original cast members, but I don't think they were playing themselves. I don't remember, and I didn't like the movie that much. We may go back and watch it later. I don't know. We've watched these newer ones, the Afterlife and Frozen Empire, which are, I guess, what we're calling requels now, which is a reboot sequel term from Scream, which is now in its requel era with movies 5 forward. You could also look at like Jurassic Park and Jurassic World. All takes place in the same universe, just kind of brings in a little bit of the old storyline and original characters, and then introduces a whole new set to continue the franchise. So I thought they were both a lot of fun. Not great films by a long shot, but a good time. Afterlife came out, I believe, in 21, and it is Egon's daughter and her kids. He dies. They go out to his very isolated farm in, I believe, Oklahoma. And it turns out he was still ghostbusting way out there. They learn a lot about him because his daughter, played by Carrie Coon, was not raised by him. So she did not know her father at all. His grandchildren never knew him, but her daughter Phoebe is pretty much just like the young female version of Egon. Anyway, they find all the ghostbusting stuff. They realize there's a huge threat there, and they try to fix it. And in the second one, they've moved to New York, taken up space in the old firehouse, and are still trying to ghost bust when, things go awry. And shenanigans ensue, as they do when ghosts and busting are involved. I think they were both fine continuations of the story. I really just don't like the second one. I never did as a kid. I talked about it last month. These were fun. I could see where people wouldn't like them. I get it. But I had a good time. And my only major problem with it is I don't feel like Paul Rudd, who is the mother's boyfriend, he feels out of place to me. I don't know. This doesn't feel like him. And I don't know if I've just started seeing him in one certain way since the MCU, or if he really just feels out of place. And I don't have a better substitute. I don't know who I would have put in this role, but it felt so Paul Rudd. I don't know. That's my only major complaint. Yeah, they're cute. If there are more, we'll probably watch them. So that's it for those two. So now on to something darker. It is actually baked right into the title, 2019's Dark Waters. It is about the DuPont scandal / cover-up of how it poisoned local people in Parkersburg, West Virginia, and the attorney who came in to try to expose them, get repercussions, laws changed and everything because of what they did with their chemicals.
How many did you lose?
190.
190 cows.
You tell me nothing's wrong here.
So since moving to West Virginia almost 9 years ago this summer, I have, been interested whenever I see that there's a story or a movie or something about West Virginia history or goings on. So like I've watched We Are Marshall, about that horrible plane crash that killed the Marshall University's football team back in the late 70s. And I just heard about this DuPont scandal a few years ago. It has not been long, shockingly, I think maybe 2021. And it started many, many years ago as they were poisoning everybody around them since at least the 40s or 50s. But none of the legal stuff really started until the 90s when a farmer came in when all of his cows were dying. And he was downstream from a farm they had bought from his brother to bury a bunch of their chemicals in giant vats. Ew. It's absolutely disgusting. Parkersburg's only about 2.5 hours from me, I believe. I've driven there one time for a bowling tournament for my kids, but that is all I've ever dealt with Parkersburg. So it all starts when an attorney, played by Mark Ruffalo, who his maternal grandmother is from Parkersburg, West Virginia. So she tells this farmer, hey, go see my grandson. He's a big shot attorney in Cleveland, Ohio. He's just made partner at this firm, and this farmer shows up. Well, he actually represents like chemical companies. He does not represent the people that could potentially be harmed by the companies. So he starts digging into this and realizes that DuPont has absolutely been poisoning the locals. And it just becomes a many-year struggle to get anything done through the courts, just with all this devastation around of what DuPont did. And in the end, after like 20 plus years, DuPont finally settles for about $70 million. And it is said at one point that Teflon, which is what was one of the main causes of all these problems, was making them over $1 billion a year. And it's so sickening. It just makes you angry. It really does. But it's a good movie. It felt very formulaic. Not because I knew where the story went, but just things like this kind of feel very samey. Of course, he is a family man. He's just made partner. His wife has had a baby. So this 20 plus year struggle absolutely takes its toll on his marriage, on his place at his firm, on his own health. And you could kind of see those things coming. It was almost very by the book. Like, I don't know how much of it actually happened, of course, because it's based on a true story, but you could almost see a lot of these things coming about. Like, I could see the fights with his wife already. Like, Anne Hathaway played his wife, and I'm like, yeah, I know exactly what's going to happen. There were some odd things mentioned. He goes to see his grandmother in Parkersburg at one point to talk to her. And his wife's like, well, why'd you need to go to West Virginia? He's like, I was just seeing my grandmother. I didn't sneak off to see my mom behind your back. And it's like, clearly there's something there, but they like never explore that. Like, I don't even know why mention it. Just say I went to see my grandmother. Like, what was the beef between his wife and his mom? And they never even show his mom throughout the whole movie. It was bizarre. I don't know. It was little moments like that I'm like, why did we even leave that in? Maybe it was a part of the real attorney's life, but like I don't know why we included it in the story if we weren't going to expand upon it in any way. Not that his relationship with his mother really mattered to the story, but it felt like an odd bit of dialogue. So it's a really good movie, but it is very bleak. It is difficult to watch just knowing what big companies do to ordinary people and take zero responsibility for it. And when they finally get their day in court, the big companies still just, it's barely a dent in what they're worth. And it's just extremely sad that this is the way it is. All the protections they have, and it's just gross. It's just gross. Dark Waters, bleak, but good. Not one I will rush out to watch anytime soon, again, but that's that. And lastly, I guess maybe to lighten the mood a little bit from what Dark Waters was, murdery sex robots. So I'm talking about Companion from earlier this year.
Yeah, she's tied up inside, so she's not going anywhere. Mm-hmm.
Eli, Iris, shh, baby, you're on the phone.
This movie is about Iris, who meets Josh at the grocery store in a perfect, wonderful little meet cute, and they fall in love, and they're this sweet, happy couple, and they are planning on spending a weekend at a very remote cabin with their friends, or Josh's friends, and things get bloody. Now, I don't want to spoil too much. The trailer does pretty much give away, and the poster, that she is a robot. And in the movie, they kind of hint at it, say a couple of things. At 20 minutes in, you know she's a robot. Basically a sex robot. It's like a sex doll, but like an actual robot. And a lot of comments on the trailer on YouTube are like, thanks for giving the whole movie away. It doesn't. There's more twists. There's more things to uncover in what's going on. So yeah, she gets bloody because she kills somebody. Maybe more than one somebody. But all I'll say is, good for her. So this movie was just fun for me. I mean, there's some serious stuff that you could get from it, I guess. I think it definitely pays homage to Stepford Wives. I've never seen the original. I did see the remake with Nicole Kidman from a few years ago. There's definitely some of that in there. I'd probably throw in a little bit of Ex Machina from a few years ago. Basically any robot movie. Especially a robot movie where they don't know they're a robot in the beginning and then they find out they're a robot. It very much gives what makes us human, and you know, she has all these memories that she remembers meeting Josh at the grocery store, but it's really just her programming. So she has feelings, but is it just, you know, the different little parts inside of her that are being tuned a certain way? So there are things you could glean, or you could just see it as a fun weekend of blood and guts when you just mess with stuff that ought not be messed with. I had a really good time with this one. Yeah, sorry I didn't say much about Companion, but the less said, the better, because there's twists and turns, and anything else I said would have ruined that for, like, everybody who hasn't seen it. I can't recommend it for everybody, but if you've seen the trailer and it looked entertaining, go for it. It was a good time. And that's it for this block. I'm going to put the whole month square together, and I'll be back in a minute. Well, that took longer than expected, but it's done. And that is 1/3 of the year over and done with. Also, the first and what will probably be the only month where I do all new to me movies. There's not any purple on here except for what's in the variegated joining color. But yeah, I'm surprised. It was a good beginning and end, obviously. And not a bad month overall. And the 2 movies I watched that were Disney movies, I just found boring. They weren't just horrible, but they were just boring for me. That's it. Thank you so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, all the YouTube things, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!